There's something quietly devastating about watching two people who clearly love each other struggle to find the right words. That's what many viewers felt when conversations around Eamonn Holmes and Ruth Langsford resurfaced, not because of anything dramatically explosive, but because of something far more human. The weight of it, the texture of two people navigating something genuinely painful, while the rest of the world watches with a curious mix of sympathy and fascination. Eamonn Holmes has never been someone who hides particularly well. That's always been part of his appeal on British television, that bluntness, that refusal to perform a version of himself that doesn't quite fit. So when reports began circulating about serious tensions between him and Ruth during his health struggles, many audiences didn't dismiss it. They leaned in, because somehow, it felt true to the complexity of who these two people are. And here's what strikes you when you sit with it properly. Health crises don't just affect the person experiencing them. They ripple outward. They press on every relationship in ways that are almost impossible to articulate until you're standing directly inside them. Viewers who have watched Eamonn and Ruth together for years, through the warmth, the banter, the occasional live television disagreement that felt oddly comforting in its realness, some of those viewers began wondering whether what they were seeing hinted at something deeper than a simple domestic row. It almost seemed as though the clashes weren't really about whatever surface argument sparked them. That's what made audiences stop and think. Because when someone you love is suffering, and you're watching from close range without being able to fix it, frustration can arrive wearing disguises. It can look like sharpness. It can sound like impatience. And from the outside, it can be profoundly easy to misread. There's a particular kind of loneliness in being the partner of someone in serious pain. Ruth has never struck viewers as someone who lacks emotional intelligence, quite the opposite. But emotional intelligence doesn't protect you from feeling helpless. And helplessness, for someone as capable and composed as Ruth has always appeared on screen, can be an especially difficult emotion to carry quietly. What many people watching found themselves feeling wasn't judgment. It was recognition. The recognition that loving someone through illness is genuinely hard. That, deadly serious, clashes, that phrase is important, isn't it, aren't signs of a relationship falling apart, but sometimes signs of two people fighting for it in the only way available to them in a particular moment. Eamonn's health journey has been a long and clearly difficult one. And there's something about watching a man who built his television identity on energy, directness, and a kind of unstoppable presence, watching that person face physical limitation, that sits uncomfortably with audiences. Not because we don't want to witness it, but because it reminds us how fragile everything can be, even for people we feel we know. The conversation this story sparked online felt less like celebrity gossip and more like collective reflection. People weren't dissecting Eamonn and Ruth to be unkind. They were recognizing something universal in their story, something that lives in most long relationships eventually, that specific, exhausting territory where love and frustration and fear all occupy the same room at once. Maybe what viewers connected with wasn't the conflict itself, but the honesty underneath it. The suggestion that even the strongest partnerships have moments that don't photograph well. And perhaps that's exactly why this story continued to travel, because it wasn't really about television presenters at all. It was about what happens when real life arrives, uninvited, and changes everything. What did you notice in all of this? I'd genuinely love to know your thoughts in the comments below.